India, home to 1.4 billion people, is in the limelight for several reasons this year. It's set to become the world's fastest growing economy and also the world's most populous nation. But how do these milestones impact one group in particular? India's women, who make up nearly half of the country's population. How far have India's women come, and what are the challenges standing in the way of their, and by extension, India's success? We begin this episode in rural India, where more than 60% of the country's population lives. Driving just 2 hours out of Delhi will bring you to the village of Dadri. It's in western Uttar Pradesh, a state the size of the United Kingdom. Much progress has been made here. Paved roads, concrete houses, a mobile phone in nearly every hand, and more freedom for women. But it wasn't always so. Anju and her twin Manju live here with their 7 children. The 2 sisters were born and brought up in the city of New Delhi. They were married into the same family and sent to live here. At only 16, 2 years short of the legal age for marriage in India,
हमें इतने पता ही नहीं था क्योंकि हम लंबे तो हो गए थे, तो हमें यही नहीं पता था। हमारी बुआ ने, दादी ने, सब ने जब अरे भैया लड़की बड़ी हो गई है, शादी कर दो। फिर हमारे पापा पुराने विचारों के ही थे, उन्हें ये था कि जल्दी शादी कर दें।
This is common among poor families in India, marrying off girls early so there are fewer mouths to feed. Forced to give up on their dreams of studying further, the sisters want to raise their children differently.
क्योंकि अनपढ़ आदमी तो एक पशु के समान हो जाता है, क्योंकि हम कहीं जा रहे हैं तो हमें पढ़ाई की ज़रूरत है।
Anju works from dawn to dusk, fueling her family's needs. It's an endless grind. तो कितना टाइम लगता है? मतलब आपका बड़ा परिवार है तो पूरे
मैं सुबह 7 बजे मतलब बैठूंगी 6-7 बजे, तो मुझे 2 घंटे 2.5 घंटा लग जाता है
खाना बनाने में से।
हाँ, क्योंकि आपके चाय बनाई है तो वो कहेगा मेरा दूध ठंडा हो गया, मेरा दूध गर्म कर दो, और वो दूसरा कहेगा अरे जल्दी करो मैं लेट हो रहा हूँ, फिर फटाफट रोटी बनाऊंगी, कोई कहेगा सब्जी गर्म कर दो, तो ऐसे ही लग जाता है टाइम।
तो फिर जब आप सबको खिलाते हो, आप कब खाते हो?
मैं जैसे बनाया खाना और चूल्हे पे जैसे आंच बची है, अब दूध धर दिया गर्म होने के लिए, तो मैंने कहा चल यहीं बैठे बैठे जब ये 1 आध रोटी खा ली जल्दी से, और बाकी बना के रख दी फटाफट।
The sisters tell me they don't mind the work or the sacrifices. They just want their daughters to become trailblazers, to make something of themselves. Anju's eldest, Neha, is 22 years old and has big dreams. She wants to become a teacher like her mother once did.
मम्मी का बस यही है कि मैं नहीं कर पाई लेकिन मेरे बच्चे तो करे कम से कम। उन्हें बस यही रहता है कि मेरे बच्चे मेरा नाम रोशन करे, बस ऐसा ही है।
But to fulfill those dreams they share, they've had to fight social norms and expectations even at home.
के बाद पापा ने फिर ऐसा बोला कि मतलब माहौल को देखते हुए कि शायद कि माहौल ख़राब है बेटा, अब रहने दो। फिर मैंने अपने पापा को समझाया कि ऐसा नहीं है, मतलब वो सब अपने ऊपर बातें होती है कि हमें किस तरीके से पढ़ाई करनी है। बहुत मतलब दुख सा हुआ, फिर भी मेरे पापा ऐसे होते हैं कि मतलब मेरी बात मान जाते हैं, कि कभी कभी दूसरों की बातों में आके मतलब थोड़ा बहुत कि सब ऐसे बोलने लग जाते हैं कि नहीं ऐसा नहीं, अब मत पढ़ाओ, अब बहुत ज़्यादा पढ़ चुकी।
Neha is fighting to forge a life that will be different from her mother's. When she was Neha's age, Anju was already a mother to 4 children. And she felt that she had no agency to say no to anything.
जब नेहा के बाद निधि थी, मैंने जब भी कहा था कि भाई ये लड़की छोटी है, तो मैंने क्या अभी नहीं कर रही, मैं अपने घर ही थी, मैंने कहा मैं अभी नहीं करना चाहती। फिर इसके पापा कहने लगे कि नहीं जब एक ही तो है, क्या हो गया, एक और हो जाने दो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, दवा ववा मत खाना, और दवा खाओ तो आना मत, मतलब ये रखा था।
फिर मैंने कुछ नहीं करा।
उनसे पूछा नहीं गया शादी करने से पहले, उनको पढ़ने का अवसर नहीं मिला, तो आपको कैसा लगता है ये सब सुन के?
बहुत मतलब दुख होता है कि उस टाइम मतलब लड़की की सुनी नहीं गई बिल्कुल भी, ना तो उन्हें पढ़ने दिया गया, शादी के लिए भी ऐसी जल्दी शादी कर दी ऊपर से। तो ऐसा लगता है कि कहीं ना कहीं उन्होंने ना किया, लेकिन वो हमसे उम्मीद रखती है कि तुम पढ़ाई करो। तो ये सब चीज़ हमें समझाती है कि ये चीज़ें हमने फेस करी है, इन चीज़ों को तुम फेस ना करो।
Like Anju, at least 1.5 million Indian girls are married every year before they turn 18.
कम से कम एज 25 तो होनी चाहिए, उससे कम तो होनी नहीं चाहिए।
उससे जने ऑब्जेक्शन भी उठाएंगे कि भाई वो लड़की बुढ़िया हो जाएगी, 25 साल में क्या शादी करेंगे।
To keep that from happening, some families, like Anju's, marry off their daughters at a younger age. But sometimes it can lead to disaster.
बाबू ऐसे नहीं फेंकते, गंदी बात।
Anju and her twin sister married young before they even reached the legal age to do so. She and her sister Manju were just 16 then. India is home to the largest number of child brides anywhere in the world. And the women can end up paying a hefty price for this premature loss of their childhood. Experts say a child bride is more likely to experience domestic violence, have children early, and that perpetuates a cycle of illiteracy and poverty. There has been some change in the last few decades, a result of a government campaign to educate girls as well as increased awareness. And data shows that keeping girls in school can have a huge impact. A girl who's allowed to finish her high school education is likely to marry at least 5 years later than a girl who didn't. Just 5 more years can give girls the chance to finish college and start working. By marrying later, women are more likely to earn more and have more control over their own money. Neha is at the very point in her life where those additional years of education will determine the trajectory of the rest of her life. By local standards to a certain extent, Neha has succeeded. She is among a handful of girls in this village not married already. But Anju is pushing her husband to give their daughter more time, another 3 years, to pursue her dreams.
शादी करो, बच्चों की बड़े हो गए, काफ़ी पढ़ ली ना, बहुत ज़्यादा हो जाता है जी। गांव में जो है इतना ज़्यादा हो जाता है कि आगे बच्चे देखने जाओ तो इतने ना पढ़े लिखे मिले।
Jitendra admits he may have to get at least 2 of his daughters married soon, even if they are against it.
लड़कों की तो हमारे हाथ में नहीं है जी, लड़कों की हमारे हाथ में नहीं है। लड़कों की तो जब भी ऐसे हम ऐसे नहीं कह सकते किसी से, बोल तो सकते हैं, पर इनकी में बहुत काफ़ी टाइम भी लग सकता है। लड़की से पहले भी होने की बात हो सकती है, लड़की से पहले करें नहीं है।
Neha says, in these moments, she hates being a girl.
समाज के नियम ना सब ये लड़कियों के लिए ही बनाए गए हैं। मेरे लिए सबसे मेन है कि मैं जॉब करना चाहती हूँ। मैं उसके लिए मतलब कर सकती हूँ, मैं घर का भी काम कर सकती हूँ, मैनेज कर लूँगी। उसके लिए पहले तो यही है कि मैं शादी से पहले ही कुछ करूँ, कि बाद में तो सबका ऐसा होता है कि अगर जॉब होती है तो ठीक है, नहीं मतलब तैयारी कर रहे होते हैं तो अब क्या करेगी तैयारी करके, कुछ है ऐसी बातों से टाल देते हैं।
In India, only about 1 in 3 women work after they get married, compared with about 1 in 2 globally. Most women devote themselves entirely to domestic life, with the expectation that they will run their homes while their husbands bring in the money. Neha's aunt Manju disagrees with that. At just 23, just a year older than Neha is now,
she became a widow. Her husband died in a freak road accident. Overnight, she became the man of the house. After being told all her life her place was at home, she was forced to step out.
सेब है हल
Manju started working at this government-run play school, earning about $60 a month. In her spare time, she also began doing some tailoring work to make extra money. It's not enough, but it sees her family through. She got her sister a job here 10 years ago, convincing the family they will benefit from the additional income.
ये है अपनी जिम्मेदारी जब तक खुद ना उठा लें, जब तक अपनी जिम्मेदारी खुद उठा लेते हैं तो वो ज़्यादा बेहतर होता है, और दूसरे उठाते हैं तो वो रहता है हम दूसरों पे बोझ बने हुए हैं. कोई कितना भी सही, कोई कब तक जिम्मेदारी उठाएगा दूसरे की.
Manju's daughter Nisha says she's proud of her mother. Nisha is currently finishing her education, but admits she probably won't get the chance to put it to use.
अपनी फैमिली में इतना कुछ है नहीं कि मतलब किसी को दहेज दे पाएँ या किसी को बहुत अच्छे में, तो इसीलिए हम सोचते हैं अगर आज हम पढ़ लेंगे तो हमारी पढ़ाई की वजह से कहीं अच्छे घर में चले जाएंगे, कि दहेज भी ना देना पड़ेगा और तो भी अच्छा घर मिल जाएगा. कि अगर हम पढ़ेंगे भी नहीं, अगर कहीं दहेज भी नहीं जाएगा तो या तो इज्जत होती है कि बहुत ही ज़्यादा पढ़े लिखे हों, या होती है कि बहुत ज़्यादा दहेज लेके जाती हैं.
Dowries were banned in India back in 1961. But the practice of a bride's family paying money and gifts to the groom remains rampant. It is still practiced in about 95% of all rural weddings. While her cousin Nisha has chosen to take the beaten path, Neha says she wants to go her own way.
ड्रीम तो मैं पूरा करूँगी. ऐसा है, मतलब मुझसे भी मतलब बहुत से लोग बागों ने बोला है, तो मैं बोल देती हूँ तुम्हें क्या प्रॉब्लम हो रही है. जब हमारे पेरेंट्स को कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है तो आपको क्या प्रॉब्लम हो रही है. क्या आपको हमारा खर्चा उठाना पड़ रहा है.
Anju marvels how a decade ago it would have been unimaginable for her and Manju to have the kind of freedoms their daughters enjoy. To tell their elders they don't want to marry yet. To dream about working and of financial autonomy. But even with greater freedom, the two mothers say their daughters deserve much, much more. They want to give this next generation a fighting chance to become more than just wives and mothers. A chance, they say, to break free.
Even as girls in rural India fight for a chance to work, women across the country are dropping out of the workforce in record numbers. Still ahead, we tell you what's keeping some women away from work, even as others smash more than just the glass ceiling.
Over the years, the work environment has improved in India for women. They're taking on a wider variety of roles and more responsibilities across different industries. On the one hand, many women are breaking boundaries to play their part in building India's economic growth story. But on the other, female participation in the workforce has declined. And there's still a large pay gap between men and women. Civil engineer 26-year-old Bhavna Lakshmi knew she was entering a male-dominated profession, but she didn't let that hold her back. She'd always been interested in how structures were built, and she got a job 2 years ago in Mumbai with one of India's biggest engineering and construction firms, Larsen & Toubro.
So basically what we do is we get all the material from various factories abroad, then we assemble them into spans.
Bhavna's working on a landmark project in the city, a more than 20-kilometre long 6-lane expressway bridge being built across the sea. Called the Mumbai Trans-Harbour Link, it will be India's longest sea bridge.
It's like a dream come true for any civil engineer, male or female. So being a female person, like being a woman, getting this opportunity to work in such an amazing company, so I consider myself really lucky.
Bhavna is responsible for helping to procure materials and make sure the project runs to schedule. The bridge she's working on is a key part of the city's socio-economic development plans. But while the city is adapting and progressing to meet the needs of the modern and growing economy, data surprisingly reveals a drop in female participation in the workforce in India. Figures from the World Bank show that the number of working women in the country fell to 19% in 2020, from 26% a decade earlier. Factors behind the disparity include access to education among women and childcare. Some large companies like Larsen & Toubro or L&T are actively focusing on trying to increase the number of women in its labour force. But while it is bringing on more female staff, only 7.6% of its total employees are women.
काम कैसे चल रहा है आपका? मैं actually
L&T says it has quadrupled the number of female engineers it has hired to more than 1,000, and in all, women make up about a third of the company's new engineering recruits. But the industry is clearly still a very male environment. I've noticed that it all seems to be men here, right? I mean, what do you
Yeah, right. As we say in civil field, construction industry, at site, people usually prefer men because there is a lot of laborious work to do out there. But then I feel like if it's about a choice. Like if you are ready to do that job, then nobody is gonna stop.
Bhavna says sometimes male workers are surprised to see a woman on site. And she does get a small perk, a workday that's about an hour shorter, but otherwise Bhavna says she doesn't feel like she's treated very differently because of her gender. Bhavna is from the South Indian state of Kerala. It's almost 1,500 kilometres away. Bhavna is single and lives in accommodation provided by the company at a hostel. Her parents were worried at first about their daughter moving so far away to work.
They had their own fears, but then I feel like I remember once when my HR team, they had called them and talked to them personally. I was feeling sick and they called personally to my parents and talked to them, gave them the assurance that I'm okay, I'm getting taken care of. So that kind of thing really matters for my family, because they know that their child is at a place where she can be safe.
Bhavna also has role models in the company she can turn to. Her colleague Suparna Nandode, who's working on the same project, has been an engineer for 15 years. She was inspired by an uncle in the profession and decided to follow in his footsteps. But when she started out, there were even fewer women.
That was back 15 years back, when ladies didn't opt for civil engineering much. We were only a bunch of few in a crowd of like 80, 90. So I think I got a point of realization then and there that it won't be an easy path for me.
She says she has seen a change in the industry over the years, and that more women in India are entering the profession now. Like many women, the main challenge she faces is balancing her home and work life.
Sometimes integration becomes very hard because your work also calls you and at home also you are needed.
Suparna and her husband Sanket have 2 daughters, aged 5 and 10. Her husband Sanket is also an engineer, and both have equally busy schedules. But Suparna is largely responsible for running the household. So Sanket, do you have to take on some of their household chores?
Not much, but some household works, and she get up early in the morning, 6 o'clock, and she leaves for the office at 8. So in 2 hours she is very busy. Let me clear one thing, she is more educated than me. I am engineering graduate and she has done her masters. So she is more educated than me. So I will never stop her.
Despite being more educated than her husband, Suparna says he earns more than her. She doesn't believe that this is because of her gender and says it's because he's in the government sector. But official data shows that in India, the gender pay gap is still a challenge, with women generally earning 28% less than their male counterparts. Economists say the fact that women often get lower salaries than men in India
prompts some of them to leave their careers to take on the household responsibilities, while families depend on the man's income. At 26, Bhavna is starting to think about getting married, but she plans to continue her career afterwards.
I am at that stage of life where I need to think about other things other than my job, like starting a family or something like that. So yeah, definitely my parents are into that. But then what they were really scared about when I was choosing this field was exactly what you said, like getting a prospective groom for me. But then I don't think so. The men today, they are far more open-minded than what we actually think about ourselves. They actually would like to have a partner who would be more hardworking than them.
There's still a long road ahead for India when it comes to equality for women in its workforce. But Bhavna and Sapana are among many who are helping to lay the foundations for future generations. They are building bridges to ensure that India's women have even more opportunities in the years to come. These are the stories of Anju, Bhavna and Sapana, and also of countless other women like them, united by one ambition: for women to live life on their terms.